Hello, Holistic Chamber of Commerce family. Welcome to today's member spotlight. And Karen and I are having a lot of fun today. We've already had a couple good laughs just leading up to getting onto this live. So I'm super excited for today's conversation. We're going to be talking about using creativity and play to discover you. So a little bit about Karen. Karen owns Paint Your Essence, which is a unique style of creative workshop that blends creativity and curiosity so you can indulge your creative needs and gain insights about yourself as you permit yourself to play. She uses a variety of art exercises to assist your growth in facilitated group workshops or in one-to-one personal discovery guides or corporate events. So she covers the full gamut. So welcome so much, Karen. We're so excited to have you on here.
I'm so excited. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time.
Good, good. So let's start out. Like, what do you mean by actually, I want to back up because some people are going to see this and they're going to be like, "Oh, creativity play, that's kind of kids stuff." Tell me who your work is really for, because I want people to understand that this isn't just like kids stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question to start with. I really feel like it's mostly for anybody who really wants to learn a little bit about themselves. And I just use art as the tool. And I don't think you have to be creative or feel like you can't draw a straight line at all. It's more about, because like, I don't say pick up this paintbrush, dip it in this blue, and this is how you paint the sky. I'm not like that kind of a teacher. I'm a facilitator. I lead you into discovering something about you. And then you put it on a canvas, or you could use crayons. You don't have to use paint. Ever since COVID, I've been doing it on Zoom. So people use what they have at home. Some people use markers or crayons or construction paper or make collages or whatever they want, however they want to do it. And whatever you put on the canvas speaks to you what you needed to learn about whatever the topic is. So I pick like a different topic once a month, and then that's what we use for our discovery about ourselves. So it's kind of like intuitive painting. It's not anything to do with, I have to get the tree to look like a tree. It can be abstract. It can look like a flower if it's supposed to be a flower, but it doesn't have to. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of like make it a fun way of learning a little bit about yourself through art.
I love this. And I'm not like insinuating anybody that's listening that this is like that you're Karen's an art therapist, but my background is in psychotherapy, so I'm associating this like through my filter of this is kind of like art therapy. And I feel like when we just allow ourselves to do something that there's no pressure behind it, that doesn't take like massive amounts of brain power, we can really learn a lot from ourselves by just being free and seeing what comes up and seeing what we're wanting to project on a piece of paper.
Yeah, yeah. And I really feel like you might have an image in your head, but by the time it gets to the canvas or whatever you're using, the paper, whatever, it kind of turns out to be something totally different. And I've always felt that that's because the universe or whoever is your intuitive self needed to put it this way so you can learn whatever you needed to learn from it.
Right. And so it's a nice avenue for self-discovery, but I also feel like it's a nice avenue for like healing.
Yeah.
If there's like some, and I don't know, do like people ever start like painting and then you're talking and then they're like crying and releasing emotion? I know that sounds really scary because people are like, oh, I don't want to cry, but it's such a release. It can be.
It's such a release. And I kind of think it's a compliment when they do cry, because I feel like it is getting to that emotion that they needed to, like you said, release and like kind of let go. And they're seeing what is possible in the sense that, wow, I didn't think I could, this is where I'm emotionally going. Because if you do the Paint Your Essence as a group, at the end, we share about our artwork. And it's just amazing what one this it's kind of like my favorite part in some ways, because everybody's is so different, and yet their meaning and how they got there and all this kind of stuff is so different. And I have people who are so left brain, like they were lawyers and they're, but now I have like an ongoing client in the group, um, who was a lawyer, who is a lawyer, she still is. But she was so left brain, but it's like you can see the difference in her and how much she's grown and how much she sees her whole life differently, because she's allowed it to come out the way she needs to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. How
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So tell me what you mean by like creativity and play, because I think some people have like this defined image of what that looks like or should look like.
Right. Well, to me, at first, I define creativity as anything and everything. We all have like a genius at something. Like I do have a day job, so my boss is, she's good with numbers, and to me it's her creativity. Like I worked with a financial advisor. I went to go see them for myself, and I could see her mind working out how I could save some money, or like I could just, to me that's the creativity part. And so I feel like even like the way you walk or which path you choose to go walking down the street or something is creative. So to me, it can be anything and everything. And I feel like, cooking is creative, sewing is creative. It doesn't have to be art to make you feel like it's creative. Um, I guess that's probably what I was kind of trying to get at.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, in my book, people that can do Excel spreadsheets and make it really pretty and colorful and it actually means something, that's creative, because I look at that and like my eyes glaze over like, oh, are you
Yes.
kidding me?
That's how my boss feels. Like this is the way it looks like, but nobody else can figure out how to do it that way. So yep, I totally can relate. And play for me is just my word. It's just it's what I'm, how do I want to say, passion or excites inside of me. So play is like I don't know. I don't like okay, so in a paint your essence workshop, I pretty much, we do a little introduction of who everybody is. We do what I call a scribble drawing, and then I do a second activity, and sometimes that second activity is a little bit of a game or something else to kind of help you kind of get into whatever the theme is that you're, or what you might be painting about. There was, I can't remember the topic now, it was couple months ago or so, but we played that game where you had like a blank line and a word, and you see how many people came up with. So like if you had lamp, and then you could go lamp or lamp blank, and then it could be lamp shade or lamp, so you got to be creative that way. And it was a little bit of a game, and yet we were also learning how life is, that everybody can see things so differently than from one another or the same.
Right. Well, I think anything that can help us get out of our heads and more into, out of that like left logic brain
Yes.
part and into the right side of the brain can be helpful when we're trying to get into a space of self-discovery, because I think we get in our own way. We are
Yeah.
so up here about, oh my gosh, I should, and this looks good, and I can't do this. I don't have time for this, or I have to do this. People expect, this from me. I can't have fun. I have to be serious. This is, for kids. We get in our own way, and we just don't allow for whatever creativity that's in us to surface.
Right. I think like you kind of touched on it a little bit, because there's a couple of areas that I feel like I'm too serious about, like my weight or food or diet or whatever it is. And that to me, like I make it so serious. And so I am currently working on for myself, finding ways to make it light and more playful. So I eat more healthier, or, so I don't get so stressed out about it. So I think that is why I say play is my word, because I have to make it fun. because to me, then I'm not learning anything.
Right. What kinds of things come up when you say like use creativity and play to discover you? What are some examples of like self discovery that people can like experience or gain insights about?
Um, hmm. Well, I'm trying to think. This
Like, is
past
it their strengths or is it just like, gosh, I didn't realize that this issue is still like emotionally bothering me?
um well, I think it's different for each person, but um I have a one-on-one client that was working on trying to fit in life, and I actually have a couple clients like that. So, but they found using like cutting out. I don't even know if I'm answering this right.
No, there's no right or wrong. Sorry, I didn't mean to ask you a stumping question.
I know,
I'm
because I'm like trying to think of how I wanted to say all this, and then I decided. But um, by giving her other options to not just use paint, because I think she was struggling with the fact that she wasn't artistic or creative. I go, well, how about if you use different shapes and sizes, to represent the different people and the different, and then find different construction colored paper to use to indicate what those feelings might be and stuff like that. And so that really helped her come up with different ways of, this is what I look like when I'm not fitting in, this is what I look like when I do fit in, and this is who I am now, and it was like, honestly, brilliant. It was totally brilliant, because it was just like, she came up with it, I just gave her the suggestion.
Mhm. It's great. It sounds like greater self-awareness,
Yes.
which I think is huge. If we aren't aware of how we show up in certain circumstances, or what our behaviors look like to others, maybe we don't have the power to fix it.
No, no.
Hmm. Wow.
It's a choice too. We all have choices in our life, and
Mhm.
we can choose to stay in our story, or we can choose to go, I want to see this differently, and how can I see it differently? And I really feel like art has a way of showing you it's just a different way of looking at the solution or the problem. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who, again, is intimidated because they don't see themselves as creative or like an artiste?
uh Well, a lot of times they don't know where to start on their artwork, and so based on some of the things that they might have shared through our session, our one-on-one session, or in the group session, because that's why I like to do the intro to see where they are starting from, because I can pull things from there. Sunday was an example. Like, they were like, "So what do we paint?" And I'm like, "Well." And so I had one client, it's like, one of the participants wanted to, uh, oh, how did she say it? I can't remember, which is probably a good thing. But um, I brought up something she had said, and I said, why don't you start with looking at it, what it would look like if you didn't look at it this way or something. I can't exactly remember
Mm.
what the issue was at this moment, because I don't have that piece of paper in front of me. But um, and that helped her, guide her to know where to start. Sometimes I just tell people, you know what, pick your favorite color and start there,
Mm.
um, and see where it goes. See what I had another person on Sunday. She wanted to get to happiness, and so I said, well, what does happiness look? Start there and go backwards, so you can paint about the sadness part, or
Mm.
the dark side, that flip side of happiness, because the session was about seeing the opposite side of happiness. Like, what does that look like to you? So you know how, because you can't have happiness without having some sadness. You can't have some sadness without getting, having happiness. It's like can't have the front of the hand without the back of the hand, right? Um, so I had her start from backwards to get to the other part. So that worked for her. So.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like for someone that might be worried that, they're not creative or can't paint, you have this intuitive ability to listen to their concern, but then give them something that will work for them and that's comfortable for them to start with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be paint, because you're talking about cutting out shapes, you're talking about
Right.
crayons and
Right.
markers. And I'm sure if you could do stick figures like me, that would work well
You're
too.
doing stick figures. you know, so that's why I do a lot of abstract stuff. This is mine from Sunday. So, I mean, it's like, yeah. So, yes, I like to give people a different point of view, and it is very intuitive at that moment. And that's probably why I don't really remember what I said, because it was at that moment, and so forth. So.
Mm-hmm. What is, when you work one-on-one with people, like people know, like a workshop, it's usually a group thing, and corporate events it's a group thing. When you work one-on-one with people, what would that look like? Do you just do like single sessions for people if they've got a particular concern? Do you do like a program? What is your style?
My one-on-one is kind of looking at, well, that's what I call more the personal discovery session. It's the one-on-one. And it's it's usually about 2 hours, but we can break the 2 hours up into 2 sessions. It started off looking at, like, maybe there's an issue you want to work on, something you want to look at, or maybe there's a belief you want to change. Like, you have this belief that you're not good enough. And so we talk a little bit, like maybe like 30 minutes, and then I have them start working on an art project. So if they buy a session, usually I include the art supplies I might have to ship to them. If they buy a package of one-on-one sessions, I ship them some art supplies and stuff for them to use, depending on what they would like to use. But if they're not here, if it's like Zoom, if they come here, I have all the supplies, so they use it here. But if it's like via Zoom, then it's like at least an hour and a half time. And then I give them like a week or 2 weeks, whatever they need, to work on the actual art project. And then the last 30 minutes or so, depending on how much time they have left from the first session, we talk about their artwork. And if it is a package, it can be a continuous type thing. A couple of my one-on-ones recently have really enjoyed the talking for an hour and then kind of doing the Paint Your Essence group session, using that time for their actual artwork, and then doing another one-on-one talk. So even if it's 2 hours, they still get a good deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it sounds like it. It's nice too that you can work with people in person, but also through
Yeah.
Zoom if they don't happen to be local to you.
Right. Oh, and because it is on Zoom, so many different people from all over the world have joined. I have someone from New Zealand and Holland and Germany and Canada and all the different states. So it's been kind of nice to have such a wide variety of international clients. So.
Mm-hmm. I love this method for self-discovery, because I think there's a lot that we can learn about ourselves. I don't know about you, but I'm always constantly looking for, what are my greatest strengths and how can I, incorporate those more into what I'm doing, and why am I so hung up on this, and why am I stuck here, and why am I doing X, Y, Z, but I keep perpetuating the same, issues over and over again. And so to me, it's almost like, this therapy light. It's not intimidating, but at the same time, it can help you work through of just some of these like irritating, burning things that you kind of want to figure out and gain
Yeah.
some insight and wisdom into.
Yeah. Um, I have a, you know, like I actually give, if they're not going to be able to work on any art stuff, sometimes I give a little bit of an assignment in between. I'm working with one client that she's working on her communication with people, and I'm like, it's okay to fail. I said, in fact, you know, let's count how many times you fail and just say, okay, I failed, and the chance to look at all the times she's failed, and she's starting to appreciate them a little bit more. So, you know, I don't just say only art, because sometimes that's not the best way. So it's all based on what we're discussing and what comes up intuitively comes into my head at the time.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today and giving us a different modality, I guess,
Yeah.
into learning about ourselves or resolving a particular issue. Before we go, though, you were talking about a workshop that's coming up. I wanted to share the link with people, but while I do that, go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
So in my Paint Your Essence, every December, I love this theme. It's always kind of like around what we've done all year, but yet how do we paint our intentions for the next year? So that's what this one is about, is visioning 2023. This year's theme for Paint Your Essence was all about getting to that inner happiness. So it's like, how can you take that happiness and put it into 2023? And that's what we'll paint about. Maybe it'll be a little bit of like how you want to feel or be in this inner happiness in 2023. Maybe it'll be everything. You could do a vision. It's almost like doing a vision board, but you're painting it, or creating it in a different way. And it's on December 18th from 1 to 3:30. And it's one of my favorites, and it might be the easiest. If someone always wanted to try it, it might be the best one to try, because it's not like as deep, but you're still learning a little bit about yourself and what you want for the new year. So.
And this is a great process, because let me tell you, sometimes what we think we want, we don't really want. So it's like super helpful to just stop and reflect on this and say, okay, this is my vision, but let me really be intentional about, why I think I want all of these things.
And even if it's a small part of it, that's okay, because that small part will help you get what else is possible for the rest of the year. So what I also do for the activity before is always some kind of reflection of this year, and like what worked and what didn't work, and what can you bring into 2023 that did work, that you want to bring. So that also helps you paint what you want to paint for your intentions. So
fantastic. So if you're watching this, hop onto that Eventbrite link that we just posted in the comments, and go get your spot for your December workshop, so you can go into 2023 with a playful bang, I guess we could say.
yes, please.
Now,
It's so much fun. It really is. I mean, one of my rules is, if you don't like anything about this, one, you can always start over, but two, just to have fun. I mean, it's 2.5 hours of you just being with you and playing and participating. Use your fingers, use the colors that you love. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. I had one person keep it in her trunk the whole time. So she never brought her artwork inside into her house, but she had so much fun participating, but she didn't like her artwork. So
well, and she can take the energy of it wherever she goes.
exactly, it's still with her.
All right, so I did put your website too in there if anybody would like to reach out to Karen and just ask some questions or have a little bit of a conversation.
Yeah.
I went ahead and put the paintyouressence.com website address in there. So yeah, thank you so much, Karen, for being with us today and sharing your wisdom around this.
Thank you very much. It was fun. I really had a good time.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in, Holistic Chamber family, and we will see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.